Okay, so I've got my basic wall, and what I would like to do now is throw a bevel modifier on this thing. And if I just adjust this a little bit, I can have a lot nicer looking bricks with just a little bit of extra cost of geometry, really. And that looks a lot nicer already. Okay, so now I'm going into top view, and I'm going to duplicate this, escape, rotate, control to constrain it, grab it, and put it about right there. And you'll see what I'm doing. I'm not quite connecting them because I'm going to be creating towers which will connect in between. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second, but I'm going to make my basic layout here. I'll duplicate this wall, constrain it with my middle mouse to pull it over, and I'll duplicate this one, escape, R to rotate, control to constrain to where it's perfectly flat, grab it, and I'll go ahead and duplicate this one as well, middle mouse to constrain and pull it over here, like that. I'm going to duplicate this one, escape, R to rotate, hold control, I'm going to grab it, pull it over to about here, duplicate again, and I'm going to grab this one because it's already rotated and duplicate it and bring it to about here. And for this back wall, I'm just going to go ahead and scale this one. I'm going to S to scale and hold my middle mouse to constrain it. And I'm going to hit T, not T, going to top view, grab this, and scale it down some more, holding the constraint to where it's just scaling on the x-axis. Grab right there. Okay, so this is starting to be my little kind of basic layout of my castle. And I'm tired of looking at this grid, so I'm going to bring open my menu here, and under display I'm going to turn off grid floor, and then also I'm going to add a plane so we can kind of get an idea of a floor here a little bit. Now would be a good time to go ahead and save this first file, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. Save as Blender Sensei example files. Making a castle, and I'll just save it as castle 01. Hit enter. Enter again. Alright, so we've got our castle walls here pretty much, and we're ready to put in some towers where we've left this space open. So the simplest way to do that is I'm going to grab a wall, hit D to duplicate, and hold the middle mouse to constrain it, pull it over. And, well, before I do anything, well, I'm going to start throwing some simple deforms on there, but before you start adding a bunch of modifiers to objects, especially ones that you've joined together, it's a good idea to go to Object and transform origin to geometry, and this resets the origin point, so all the bending and twisting and stuff it does will be around this center point. So I'm going to go ahead and add a simple deform, select bend, and bring up the factor, and it's going to bend it right around there. And presto changeo, cool sweet little tower. I'm going to bring this right to where it closes off just there. And I'm going to add, well, actually what I'm going to do is apply this deform I just created. And then again I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Origin to Geometry. And it's really good to reset that point when you're going to be doing things that are changing the geometry based on the origin point. So just remember, before you add modifiers, go to Object, Transform, Origin to Geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and add on here another simple to form, but this time change it to taper. And I'm going to bring it into the negative right here. And you'll see it's making the bottom bulge out and the top come to a point, which is really cool. Now, really, something like this should have costed us a lot more time than what it just did, but instead, now what we have is a sweet tower. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this. I'm going to go into top view, and actually I'm going to get rid of this floor plane for now because it's making it harder to see. Grab this, bring it here. Let's see how that looks. I think, well, we'll fix that in a second. And I'm going to duplicate all of these and put them in the positions where I've got these little openings. And I want them in about the center point of the gaps. Oops, looks like I missed one. Alright, dang, that is really cool. That is not too bad. Let's give a little bit of attention to these walls. We'll grab them and press S to scale, then hold down the middle mouse to where they're only scaling like that. I'm going to bring this one in about right here. And I'm not going for super hyper realism with this one. I mean, I typically don't anyway, because to me this is about having fun, and you can really just bog down the fun if you get too carried away with the details. I love details, don't get me wrong, but for this demonstration purposes, we're going to just adjust these a little bit to where they don't look so wonky. I think in addition, now that I've kind of fixed all these a little bit, I'm going to grab all of the walls by holding shift and selecting on them. Make sure I don't select any of my towers. And I'm going to hit S to scale, and I'm going to click down on my middle mouse to constrain it to the vertical. And when you're using the middle mouse to constrain, always remember that the second that it starts going towards the direction you want, you can let off of the middle mouse and it will hold to that constraint point. So I'm going to bring these down a little bit to where these crinals, or whatever they're called, are a little bit below the towers. So yeah, that's pretty cool for so far. What I want to do now is get rid of this front wall, because now that I think about it, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to press Shift A and add another block wall, and hit T to get to my options for it. And I want to use one of these openings. I'm going to blow it up real big, so where essentially it creates like a gateway in here. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to go to, under opening, I want to make the bottom come down. And it looks like my resources are starting to get bogged a little bit. So before I do that, I would like to move this to another scene, another layer, so I can work on it alone. And as you can see, doing that caused my editing abilities for it to go away. So I'm going to delete it, hit Shift A, click it again. Now I've got my editing back. So under the openings, bring the bottom on down like that. You can see that's already going to do what we want it to. And I'll increase the height and the bottom some too. Well, no, it's not doing so much. Well, there we go. All right, and the bevel here, which I didn't address earlier, controls the outer openings of it, which will be definitely cool for what we're doing here. And under the top arch, I want to change my curve to where it's, you know, much more curvy. And let's see, on the front view, this definitely needs to be moved over, so I'm going to use the indent to move it over. And I want, oh, here we go, change the width of it here. Now this is going to be sweet. And let me, under, where is it under? The bevel. Bring that in some. And that's not too bad. Got some nasty looking stuff here. Let's see if I can't adjust the width of the blocks to maybe get that geometry to change. Maybe the variance. That doesn't seem to be doing it. Maybe the curve. And I think that'll work. Yeah, that'll definitely work. Because it looks a little, if you want to zoom in on an object, if you hit the period button on the numpad where it says delete, it will zoom in on an object, which is helpful. But yeah, it looks kind of rigid around there, which is fine with me. So I'm going to hop back into my other layer, and I'm going to go back to this one and hit M to move it back to that first layer with my other stuff. And that's pretty good for a little bit of an opening. I'll hit G to grab it and constrain it to this axis, and I will scale it so it's not coming through these towers so much. Put it back in the center. Cool stuff, cool beans. All right,